Welcome to the 24th Annual Miami Jewish Film Festival, one of the world's largest and oldest Jewish cultural arts events. We want to thank all of our members, sponsors, community partners, volunteers, all of you film lovers, and especially our presenting sponsors, the Center for the Advancement of Jewish Education and the Greater Miami Jewish Federation, for their continued support throughout all these years. My name is Luna Goldberg, and I'm the Education Manager at the Jewish Museum of Florida, FIU. I'm excited to be moderating a virtual conversation with director Daniel Hymanson from the movie So Late, So Soon, which is premiering at this year's festival. Thank you all for joining us. Welcome, Daniel.
Hi, thank you. Thank you very much. Very, very happy to be here.
It's such a pleasure to meet you, and I very much enjoyed watching So Late, So Soon for a number of the reasons that we'll get into later on. But maybe a good place to start is your own relationship to Jackie and Don Seiden. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you met the Seidens?
Yeah, so Jackie Seiden taught a children's art class at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago on the weekends when I was a kid. And when I was 5 years old, my mom enrolled my sister and I in her class, and it was just this incredible, just like an incredible class where she did things like she would like cover the walls with brown crumpled up pieces of paper, and we'd make sticks out of or make paintbrushes out of sticks and fur, and be like make cave paintings on the wall. And she just create these incredible environments for us. And yeah, it was just this amazing class. And then we stayed in contact over the years, and um, we would visit Jackie at her house, and then I got introduced to Don, and I got introduced to her work, or just like her artwork, which I like fell in love with when I was like a little kid. And then when I got a bit older, we'd play music together a lot. Like we just sort of became friends. And then she was always someone who I admired very much, and felt lucky to know and looked up to. And sort of as soon as I knew I wanted to make films, I knew I wanted to make a film about or with Jackie.
Wow. Yeah, and this is your first feature film. So, what a beautiful tribute to your relationship and how it's grown over time. There's something that you really capture well in the film, and it's not just their characters, but it's also this world that Jackie and Don have created together, their relationship to one another and to their art. What was the process of making the film like for you?
I mean, it started off as a very different sort of process and a very different kind of film. Like, um, I because I went into it sort of thinking of Jackie as a teacher and as sort of a mentor, and then um, I had like so I went into the film sort of doing these interviews with Jackie about her teaching and her artwork, because that's sort of what I knew of her for the most part. And then as I was doing that, we became closer, and I got to know sort of Jackie and Don better. Um, and the film sort of evolved into what it like ended up becoming. But it was like I feel very lucky that I had all this time to just get to know them and spend all this time with them. And so yeah, the process of making the film was very much about just like us spending a lot of time together. And I think that the like having a camera around and like filming a movie like this is a really unique opportunity just to like get very close to someone and it's strange and be able to sort of watch people do very mundane things, but but I feel very lucky that I had the opportunity to like spend that time with them.
Yeah, and I think I read somewhere, so it took you about 5 years to make this film, right?
Yes, so I mean, like the dates are sort of confusing to me. I mean, like I shot for 6 months in 2012, like just interviews with Jackie, um, and and about her artwork and about her teaching. And then I spent a while just like looking at that footage and editing together something that ended up being sort of incomprehensible. Like it didn't make any sense really. I just working totally by myself. And then I also sort of was watching it back after finishing it and getting some feedback from people. And I also realized that like that footage that I had shot was it didn't really show what I found was so special about spending time with Jackie and Don. Like there was something just like missing about it. And so I went back in 2014 and spent like over the course, yeah, about 5 years off and on filming.
Yeah. And so you talked a little bit about this, the process of shooting this film and getting so close to people, because you don't enter in any of this footage. We don't hear your voice. We don't see you appear in the film. So you really were a fly on the wall. Do you feel like your relationship to them changed as you were filming?
Oh yeah, I mean I think that like the the film allowed me to spend all this time with them. I mean, I spent more time in the past like 10 years with Jackie and Don than anyone in my life, like no question. Um, and and the film, like I think, became something very different also because of that. Like I said, sort of it started as me wanting to make a film about Jackie and her artwork and her classes, and then as I got to know both of them better, like they were people who I knew throughout my whole life, but I got much closer to them through the process of filming. And the film became more about like what was most present on their minds when I was filming. So like Jackie wasn't particularly interested in answering questions about the way that she taught because that was like a while ago, and she just wasn't very excited about it or like it wasn't what she was most like thinking about. And so the film became more about their relationship and their experience, like getting older together and trying to continue living in their home. And it just became more about that because that was what they were most involved with at the time. But yeah, I think making the film totally radically changed the relationship I had with them for sure.
Wow. Yeah. And another thing, so I want to note that I actually went to grad school at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And that's where Jackie and Don taught. Don founded the art therapy department there. And it was one of the earliest programs, I think, in art therapy. So knowing that about them before I saw the film, it was really interesting to me to see this emphasis on their character. We saw bits and pieces of their practice or them working, but it wasn't so much institutionally affiliated. And I think something else that was surprising to me is there's this energy and dynamic that you've captured, which I feel is really unique to Chicago and its art community. You know, maybe it's in the quirkiness of it, the blurring boundaries between life and art that you can find in especially arts couples there, and also just the home itself. Um, yeah, what do you think of that?
Interesting. I don't know if I know. I, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, that's cool to hear. I feel like I don't have a good enough sense of like artists in Chicago and how they differ from artists other places actually. But they have Jackie and Don. I mean, all three of us are from Chicago, and Jackie and Don have lived here in Rogers Park. They lived their entire lives basically.
Wow. Yeah. Um, so you also spoke to this a little bit, this theme that emerged as you were working on the film of what it means to age together. And you've also spliced in some archival footage. So we really grow them through time through your own footage, but also these references. There are a few scenes that I remember. One where Jackie's roller skating. And then also you have this scene of Don building this rhinoceros sculpture. And then you have this transition to this moment when he's in a wheelchair and he's doing physical therapy, or he's no longer able to be in their home. It's really touching and also difficult to watch. You capture it in such a way that's delicate and fragile and speaks to this experience, right?
Yeah, I like finding that footage was really exciting for me. They had shot so much of that. They had, VHS stuff and Super 8 footage, and then for a number of years, Jackie carried around like a tape recorder. There's like an audio sequence in the film as well, like with just like old audio. Um, and it was like very exciting to be able to like see them at an earlier period in their lives and like get to know them during that time and see how they had changed and like the many ways that they stayed the same also. And I guess our because I found that footage like so beautiful, I think that like yeah, it's just like really incredible footage. Like our goal in the edit was to keep it like have it work as like a standalone scene. So like instead of having sort of a more cut up pieces of the past or montages of their footage that they shot, like have each of those um, sequences like work as all the other scenes did in the film. Um, and and I think it's also a bit relevant to how Jackie thinks about memory in the film. A little sort of like the things in the past feel as present as the things in the future, and or in the present in some ways. So yeah, I mean, I think that footage. I mean, feel very lucky to have had access to that footage. It's like just like so incredible.
Yeah. So, this having been your first feature film, are there any lessons that I mean, I'm sure there are plenty, um, that is there something that really stuck with you?
Uh, yeah, I think like sort of the yeah, I mean many things. I think one thing from production at least was that um, I went into making the film without having watched a lot of documentaries really like, and then once I started filming, I realized something wasn't really working. Like whatever I was capturing didn't really show um, yeah, what I thought was so amazing and like magical about being in the house and spending time with Jackie and Don. And so and then I started watching films and like thinking about what I liked in those films. And part of it was that like I didn't think that what was in the films could have been anticipated before people started filming. It's like there was something about it that was uh, like a person couldn't have planned for the things that happened um, when they were filming. So that was like a big sort of realization for me when I was filming, just to like sort of be open to discovering new things. Like that was sort of the footage that I was most excited about were the things that I couldn't have anticipated going into filming. Um, and so that was sort of a big like lesson for me, just like uh, be open to things changing. Don't be too attached to the ideas you had before um, starting the project. And I think that like carried over into the edit as well. Like uh, let it be whatever feels right.
Amazing. Um, were you able to show the film to Jackie and Don?
So Don died about a year and a half ago. Um, so he never, I mean, like I said earlier, I feel like incredibly lucky that I'm sorry. I feel incredibly lucky that over the past decade, I had the opportunity to spend so much time with him, um, and get to know him so much better. But he unfortunately never got to see the film. He got to see little things that I showed him and Jackie. That was always really fun. Um, Jackie did. Jackie has seen the film. Jackie also went to the premiere of the film back a year ago now, which was I was always scared to show her footage because she's like incredibly opinionated. And when we first started, there's a film I love called A Married Couple by this director Alan King, and like in that, I don't know how to turn my notifications off on the computer. I'm sorry, but there's a uh, and in that film he wrote about how, or he talked about how he would show the people he was filming basically the dailies after he stopped. Like they would all watch the footage together. And I started doing a bit of that with Jackie, where I would film something and then we'd watch it right after. But then she would be, uh, there were certain things like she just like pays so much attention to the space and her artwork that it would be impossible. Like she would say like, oh, you can't use this footage because there's like a dark broom in the background, like sort of blocking her pastel, some sort of like color that she had made in a specific room in the house. And I was like, we just can't, I'm never going to be able to make this film if like we're always, if like I'm showing her footage all the time. And so I waited a long time to show her the actual cut, also because I wanted to make sure that I felt okay about what it was and how she was portrayed, and it felt um, like a to me like a reflection of the time that I had with them, my experience with them, that felt like good to me. And so I showed her like before the premiere, like a couple weeks before the premiere, and she loved the film, which was like meant so much to me, and I think she feels very proud of it because she also spent like years. She put so much time and energy into this film, also. So it was amazing to um, know that she also, yeah, feels good about the film. And then she went to right before everything shut down, in like March 7th last year. The film premiered at True Falls Film Festival, and she was able to come to the screening there, and we all had like a very good time.
Amazing. Wonderful. I don't know if this is true. So, in preparing for this conversation, I read a few interviews, and I'm pretty sure that somewhere I read that you're currently living in their home.
I am in their home. So like when the pandemic, we edited the film in Paris actually, because my editor, it was a very, very nice place to edit the film. Um, because my editor Isidore Bethel teaches there, and so um, I really wanted to work with him, and so I ended up being in Paris for over the like off and on for about 2 years, and then I came back and I was sort of for a couple months in New York, and I was subletting a place and like staying at friends' houses when we were finishing the film. So I didn't have a permanent spot. And then the pandemic hit, and Jackie moved into a senior living like a apartment. It's much smaller, but it still is sort of like her environment. Like it's pastel colored, and her suitcase, she's made it into like a very like an incredible apartment. But she offered to let me stay in the house, and they're in the process of selling it. So she offered to let me stay here during quarantine, and that sort of like extended about a year now. I mean, I was planning for a couple of weeks, and now it's been an incredible place to quarantine for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. Like you're now living on the stage.
I mean, it's been very comfortable. I mean, I've felt very, very lucky. It's like incredibly kind of her to let me stay here, and it's been a very comfortable place. And it's also like a place that I've felt like very comfortable for years. I mean, it's felt like home for like a long time for me. Just I would come back to Chicago, and Jackie and Don would like they would let me stay here on like a couch. So like I mean I've been coming here like because I was living in France and coming back here. So it's a place that has been like I've felt very at home for like a while. Um, and it's in the yeah, they're in the process of trying to sell it, which is like sad, you know, because it is like so for so long, Jackie put so much of herself into this space, and like there are just so many tiny details, like even like um, just like little things like I can't see what I'm showing you actually, but like just like little, you know, there are just like little details like that, um, or like the colors of everything, you know, like it's like
Yeah.
um, she's just put so much, and like just like the palette of all of these things. There's just there are so many details throughout the house that are so special, and like um, and it all connected for so long. Like her furniture matched the walls, and you know her toothbrush would match the walls in the bathroom. You know, because that was like what her art was like whatever that is.
Yeah. And again, I mean, this notion of art and life really comes through. Like you see it through the house, you see it through their work and their personalities and how they've built this world for themselves. It's really lovely. So I guess one of my final questions, and I know that this film you're still working on a premiere and launching it. But do you have any upcoming projects?
Um, yeah, I mean, I've been like when I've been I've been working on something like about my like living in the house. I don't know if anyone's ever um, going to want to watch it, but I've been working I've been working on something that is just like about my experience being here and Jackie's sort of experience like living elsewhere and the process of selling the home.
Oh,
And then on another, I've been thinking about a film about like a dog park in New York. I think that could be a very fun place to make a film and spend a lot of time around dogs and outside in a park.
amazing. Yeah, that will be, I mean, as you've seen, I'm very curious about your experience, and I think that would make a wonderful sequel.
Yeah, it is. It's very much a sequel. It's like, yeah, a like strange sequel to this film.
Mm. Well, thank you so much to Daniel Hymanson, the director of the film So Late, So Soon. Daniel, thank you for joining us. Once
Thank you so much.
again, thank you to all of our members, sponsors, community partners, volunteers, all of you film lovers, and especially our presenting sponsors, the Center for the Advancement of Jewish Education and the Greater Miami Jewish Federation for their continued support throughout all these years. And thank you, our audience, for participating in the 24th Annual Miami Jewish Film Festival.